Hey, long time no see. My name's Cameron, this is Product Review Cars, and welcome back. It's been a little under a year since I've posted to this channel, and the visual metaphor for my return is this Ford Everest Tremor. Let's talk about what some people might refer to as a giant grey compensator. This is the Ford Everest Tremor, and it will cost you just over $80,000 drive away if you want to buy one. Now, the Tremor is a trim line taken from the Ford F-150 line, and it's now being used across the board for the more off-road focused versions of the Ford Ranger and also the Ford Everest. Now, the Ford Everest Tremor will make its competitors quake in fear as they find out that this diesel 3-litre twin turbocharged V6 produces 184 kilowatts and 600 newton meters of torque, which is very respectable for a car in its class like this, because its competitors are usually going to run around with something that looks like a turbocharged 4-cylinder diesel engine instead of a silky smooth V6 just like this. Now, to an American, that might just sound like an engine you'd expect in a car like this, but this is actually a pretty nice feature to have, and it is the must-have engine and the most in-demand engine in the Ford Ranger and Ford Everest lineup here in Australia, excluding the petrol V6 that you'll find in the Ford Ranger Raptor. Now, it's no surprise to anyone that the Ford Everest Tremor is built to go off-road. That's helped because this thing is raised higher than a regular Everest, but more importantly, there's this giant new bumper up front, which I'm going to call the femur smasher, because this thing will meet you right at the femur if you collide with a human. But instead, this thing is designed to push all the harsh things out of the way of your Ford Everest, and it looks quite serious too, and it's ready to have accessories mounted to it, which is pretty cool as a factory setup. You've also got some lights here in the grille, as well as your classic C-clamp lights is what Ford calls them. You also get a black Ford badge up front to let everyone know this is a more serious version of the Ford Everest. And to complete the looks of the Tremor, you're getting these black wheel arches, black 17-inch wheels wrapped in a General Grabber AT3 all-terrain tire. You're getting these side steps, which actually are made of plastic, but that's okay because then they're easier to replace, but at least there's a bit of something to sacrifice before your car gets destroyed by a rock. You get Tremor badges everywhere, a V6 badge to remind people that you're better than them, and you also get these camera modules here on the side for your 360-degree camera, which helps for when you're parking and going off-road. We get black roof rails, black trim, and to be honest, this thing looks pretty cool and pretty serious and looks a bit like a grown-up Hot Wheels car. And the Ford Everest kills it in the design department by actually having a properly styled rear end, where I find a lot of 4x4 SUVs that are based off pickup trucks or utes usually fall apart in this part of its design, because it's probably the part that they're like, oh, just design something quickly because we don't really care about the back of this. But this looks thoughtful. It has really cool LED lights. You have an Everest badge hidden underneath some perspex back here, and you do have a tow mount here, which is quite high up, so if you have a low down trailer, that might prove to be a problem. And of course, you get a full-size spare with a wheel and tire underneath here. You get an automatic tailgate, which is great, but if you're a parent and you're using this as your daily driver, this is going to be your biggest pain point. It's the height here. I'm 5'11", so I'm not too tall, but I'm also not too short either. And I find it just a little bit ridiculous to take things up from the ground to the back here. So you have to know what you're buying into when you buy a raised up version of the Ford Everest. And there's no storage under here either, because it's really just for your towing kit. I've just thrown in some car detailing stuff, but that's all I can fit back here unless you want to take it out. But then if you get yourself into a tricky situation, you're going to wish you kept this stuff in here. Now, another problem I have with here is that you do get 7 seats, but when you pull them up like this to put little Timmy and Jimmy into the back, you get no boot space. So my camera bag just fits, and maybe you'd fit 2 school bags in here, but if you have anything else in here and they're trying to put their school bags back here, or you're trying to fit any shopping, you're gonna run out of room. And that's just part of the compromise when you're running around with a 4x4 SUV that happens to have 7 seats. But hey, at least you have the option if you want to put people in the back. Now, the back seats are actually really decent. You have plenty of adjustment, which makes this nice and comfortable for a road trip. Even at 5'11", like I mentioned, I've got ample knee room and I have decent feet room, even when I'm wearing big boots like this. I've also got 2 USB ports. I've got a USB-C, a USB-A, so there's no fighting here in the back for charging things. And additionally, you have a 230 volt actual household plug here in the back. So you can charge your laptop, you can charge your Nintendo Switch, whatever you're putting back here, you can just use your household plug it in, and you'll always have power, which is very thoughtful because usually, again, in these 4x4 SUVs, this space back here becomes an afterthought. But here, it actually feels like they want people to sit back here, and I would have a fine time sitting here on a long road trip for many hours. And the best part is each side gets their own air vent and their own light, so you're not going to bother someone with one big central light, which I absolutely love. You get a center armrest here with some cup holders, and the middle seat's okay, but it's not going to be the best seat if you want to have the most amount of comfort. You're going to travel around really comfortably with 4 people here, but at least you could fit up to 7 if you really have to. Now, if you want to brag to people that you've bought a Ford Tremor, the only way you're going to be able to do it is taking a photo of the front seats, because these front seats have the Tremor logo stitched into them into this leather type material. They're very comfortable seats, but that's the only way you're going to tell that this is a Tremor. Otherwise, it's a pretty stock standard, highly spec'd Ford Everest in here. You get this 12-inch vertical touchscreen, which has like wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto. You have a charging pad, some USB ports. You have your shifter here, which shifts itself back into park if you turn off the engine, which I really like. You have some drive modes here. You also have some storage up on the dashboard and the traditional one in the glove box, some hidden cup holders in the dashboard. And my biggest gripe in here is that you're paying over $80,000 for a Ford Everest, and they're not even giving you the best screen you can possibly have. You'll have to pay even more to get the platinum version of this car if you want the big bad screen. Instead, we're getting the more reduced screen here, which if you're buying this and you haven't test drive the Platinum, don't worry about it. This is perfect for everything that you need, but you will know what you're missing out on in terms of the extra frame rate, the extra screen real estate, and the extra information you get and the extra features you get in the bigger driver instrument display that you'll find on the Ford Everest Platinum. Oh, and you also get a chip holder up here. Yeah, there's actually a little slot here which Ford dictates is for McDonald's size fries. Okay, cut there, that's enough sitting still, let's drive this thing. If you want a car that feels like you can drive it on any surface, it's gonna be the Ford Everest Tremor. This thing is just so comfortable to drive around day to day. I jumped into it and I immediately felt better than everyone else on the road because I was higher than them. I'm even higher than an Audi Q7 sitting in here, and I've got this beautiful, silky, smooth, juicy 3-liter V6 underneath the hood, producing enough torque to make a grown man cry. Visibility is excellent out of this thing, and so I'm not finding myself having a hard time looking down the side of my car because I have giant side mirrors, and I also have plenty of vision over the front, and thanks to that squared off bonnet, I can see where the edges of the front of my car are, and if I'm really struggling, there is a 360-degree camera on board, which makes parking seamless. Now, the 10-speed automatic is excellent in here and a must-have feature. This thing is so smooth, it runs through the rev range and runs through its gears so seamlessly that it makes driving this thing such a pleasure. Right now, I'm riding in full automatic, which means that this is in all-wheel drive or like four-wheel drive, which is really quite advanced for a 4x4 SUV in this market because a lot of them just revert to the old school 4x4 system, which requires you to be in two-wheel drive if you're driving on tarmac. Now, this is where this engine really pulls through. You go through corners just like this, and combined with those Bilstein dampers, which keeps everything nice and flat, you've just got all this torque to ride through, so it doesn't feel like you're laboring the engine to get up a hill like this, and it feels like you have plenty of power and plenty of grip on the road, despite this being an off-road focused trim of the Ford Everest. I've also got enough steering feel through here that I sort of know what's happening at the front wheels, but it's still very light steering, which is great if you're spending a lot of hours in this thing. But something that I absolutely love is the turbo sound that you get out of this thing. You get a lot of whistle and a lot of noise coming from underneath the bonnet, and if you put a snorkel on this thing makes ridiculous sounds through that intake. Now, if everything's so great, what are the downsides? Well, I will say that yes, you are going to be going through quite a lot of fuel because you have this bigger, more powerful 3-liter V6 compared to a more frugal 4-cylinder, but the differences there are negligible, but I will say that you will go through a bit more fuel just by having this motor. Now, additionally, I do find that the 10-speed automatic can be a little bit indecisive at low speeds, but it's ever so slightly. And to be honest, those are most of my gripes. We have radar cruise control here, I have heated seats, I have a really good infotainment system, the speakers are decent. There's really not much to hate about the Ford Everest, but there is a price to pay for all of this, and it isn't cheap. So here I am in the natural habitat of the Ford Everest Tremor. It's anything resembling a dirt path. So here I am just going off-road and it is so easy. The Ford Everest is already a very capable platform, but I'm just able to walk through a semi-difficult trail with absolutely no effort. There's especially a big drop-off right around here. Here we go. There's enough travel in the suspension here and enough grip from all the wheels and tires. I'm not having a problem at all. I'm able just to walk through this semi-steep hill with no slippage because this 4x4 system is extremely well calibrated. I can see what's going on thanks to the 360-degree camera system that's right here. So if there's any big boulders or rocks, because I'm way pitched up in the sky, I can see what's going on. It's quite incredible. I'm having a great time. I'm relaxed. I'm comfortable. I have great visibility. I'm not being thrown around the cabin. And to be honest, I think it's amazing bang for buck for a complete package like this. If you're a hardcore off-roader who is like a pig to mud, then this thing might feel a little too soft for you or a little bit too insulated. But for someone like me who wants to be able to live with the $80,000 car that I'm buying, this just feels exactly what I want it to feel. I want it to feel plush, comfortable, and just ultimately luxurious. I don't want to have a concussion by the end of my off-road experience. Should you buy it or should you leave it? I think you should buy it if you are looking for a 7-seat SUV like this with off-road capability as hardcore as this, because there is simply no other alternative in the Ford Everest lineup that offers this much power and this much off-road capability, because they don't build a Ford Everest Raptor yet. Now, until they import the Ford Bronco Raptor, which doesn't have 7 seats by the way, or they make a Ford Everest Raptor, to be honest, this is the best off-road capable 4x4 7-seat SUV on the market for the money. I actually think it punches up towards something like the Land Rover Discovery with an inline 6 fitted to it, but that's going to cost you a lot more money for something that is, quite frankly, nicer and bigger than this. So I think the price is fair as it reflects the amount of power and capability and features you're getting in a car like this. My name's Cameron, this is Product Review Cars. Thank you so much for watching.